these injections specifically and their targeting of human reproduction, the massive neurological events, the cardiac events, the deaths, all the things that this audience is so familiar with. And I haven't had a good answer for you because it's such, I've said over and over, and I don't mean to belabor this, but to remind everyone, when Steve says, how could this happen? I always say, from my experience working around a White House, that it can't happen unless the boss says it has to, or that it can. You can't kill Americans, I've said this so many times on this show, knowingly without the okay of the president, because you're literally burning up too much political capital. No one wants to be on the receiving end of having killed Americans when that comes to light without the imprimatur of the president. You can't do it. If someone is found to have killed Americans inadvertently, they get, fired and shamed publicly, and it's all put on them, and that's the end of them. And that's not what we were seeing, right? So I knew that up the chain of command, the White House had to be involved in these decisions. But we just didn't have the smoking gun. Now we have the smoking gun. Tonight we have the smoking gun. And once again, it's the inexplicably extraordinary Amy Kelly who has explained what the smoking gun is, and she's been able to do so because you remember we have 200 volunteer lawyers at the War Room Daily Clout project that you all have supported and been instrumental in making happen. So one of these lawyers' name is Ed Berkovich, and he FOIA'd, meaning sent a Freedom of Information Act demand to the CDC about myocarditis. And something very interesting happened. He got 472 pages from the CDC in response to that FOIA. But someone at the CDC, I think, is a whistleblower or is trying to get out of the way of an oncoming train of criminality, because he was also given an additional 46 pages, which he didn't ask for. And these additional 46 pages, over 80% of the pages were fully redacted. And I sent your producer these pages. They're redacted in a really novel way. They're completely white as opposed to being black bars. There you go. And that's a redaction. It's not a mistake. It's not a technical glitch. It's pages and pages and pages are redacted just like that, white, as if that makes it less redacted if it's not black bars. But it turns out that 7 pages were partially redacted, 37 fully redacted. And so this is where Amy Kelly is doing a better job as a reporter than the New York Times or the Washington Post. The redactions were, quote, pursuant to 5 USC 552 exemptions 5 and 6. So she looked up, what is that code? What is that redaction code? Well, it has to do with the White House. It has to do with presidential communications. Exemption 5 includes, quote, information withheld under this exemption protected under the deliberative process and presidential communications privileges. Another quote, the presidential communications privilege protects documents solicited and received by the president or his immediate White House advisors who have broad and significant responsibility for investigating and formulating the advice given to the president. So I'm just saying the reason for all these redactions is that what is redacted was solicited or shared with the president or his most senior advisors. Now, what is in these documents? I will tell you. In May of 2021, and these documents deal with May 24th to 25th of 2021, the White House is freaking out, as well as the CDC, as well as NIH. The people CC'd on these White House comms include Dr. Rochelle Walensky, Abigail Tumpy, former Assistant Director of Communication Science for the CDC, the most senior people. We've also got CDC Deputy Director for Advance, Agnes Warner, and we've got a CDC COVID White House press briefing. The press briefing includes a script, quote unquote, and some tough QA, quote unquote, regarding COVID. The press conference script slide and Q&A are fully redacted. But what is making these people freak out? And by the way, Dr. Fauci is on CC, Andrew Slavitt, White House senior advisor for COVID response, is on CC, Dr. Francis Collins, director